Israel versus Palestine, or Israel versus Hamas, whichever way you would like to refer to it. It is the current conflict going down in the Middle East, a conflict that, oddly enough, a lot of people here across these United States seem to be thinking about. Maybe a little too much. But, okay, apparently it's also been heavily weighing on the minds of our conservative political commentators, Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, to the point where I am yet again covering a situation of sorts, drama, if you will, over at the Daily Wire. This is at least one of two Daily Wire situations that have gone pretty viral this year. Pretty much, when it comes to this conflict in the Middle East, Candace said, hey, maybe the issue is nuanced. And Ben said, okay, then quit. So let's get into it.
Warning, the following program contains critical thinking, honest opinions, viewpoints on culture that may seem conservative, and a positive view on absolute detestable things such as marriage and children. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Subtle Rampage podcast, where we discuss the things that I feel like discussing. Sometimes those are things of a political nature, sometimes they're things of a cultural nature. Usually it's both. I'm your host, Adelia Kirchner, and today I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the online back and forth between Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro that occurred within like the last week and a half, I'm pretty sure. And then we'll get into a little smidge, a little bit of the external fallout of this whole thing. For those of you unawares, you uncultured swine, Ben Shapiro is one of the co-founders of the conservative media company, the Daily Wire. They have all sorts of people under their kind of little umbrella. Brett Cooper, Matt Walsh, Andrew Klavan. And within the last couple years, they've added a new person. Candace Owens signed on to have her own show with the Daily Wire. But before she ever signed on with them, people knew about her, okay, because she had worked with TPUSA and Charlie Kirk. She'd worked with PragerU. She'd already kind of established herself in the field of, like, you know, being a speaker and a political commentator, and she was a very big voice on the right for Black issues in America. If that's what you would call it, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's what you would call it. As far as my personal opinion on Candace Owens, pre her Daily Wire show, I really liked a lot of what she had to say. I thought there was a lot of substance to it. I don't know what changed when she started her show with the Daily Wire. I don't know, maybe it's just that, just as simple as, you know, she's changed in the last few years, I've changed in the last few years. Our personalities don't really mix as far as, like, this is the person that I want on my screen to entertain me type of thing. I'm not saying she's a bad person at all. I'm just saying, like, as far as, like, you know, who I enjoy watching. So anyways, I don't really watch her a lot, but every once in a while I'll see a certain topic that she's discussing and I'll click on the podcast, etc. But I think that part of why I don't really keep up with her is because when the Candace Owens show, like, first came out, I watched a lot of it, and then it kind of became just her. Like, at first it was like a panel show, and I think that just wasn't really doing as well as they thought it would, and then they switched it over to like a normal podcast, like a lot of the other Daily Wire hosts do. Um, and I was watching it, and every time that I watched it, I just felt like it was like she was very negative, I think. Um and no shade to Candace. I don't really find her funny, which is fine. I'm sure a lot of people don't find me funny. But like it wasn't hitting the spot like Michael Knowles does, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. Good. Um, get it? Got it. Good. But yeah, no, I just felt like she would sort of like not just have like a take that I didn't agree with. Like sometimes she would say things that like I totally agreed with. It was just like her like approach to it was just kind of like negative. It wasn't like normal pessimism. I don't know. It just seemed like she was in a bad mood. Very easily like annoyed with everything and everybody. And I will totally like I'm totally understanding of the fact that like there's probably podcasts of mine where I come off like super, agitated or annoyed or like ridiculous because, sometimes you go through things in life and it transfers into your uh, you know, your viewpoints, or it transfers into your attitude. That's just how things work. So, I don't know. I just wasn't really vibing with Candace Owens in the last year and a half, really. And I'm not the only one either. Like, I've talked to like my friend, and we've kind of both agreed that like there's something that's like a little off-putting. And then of course there was this one show she did where it was like a 15, maybe even 20 minute, I don't even know how long, it went on forever, segment of her like just talking about how hard it was to find like a hardworking personal assistant, or to find just a personal assistant in general, and talking about like previous personal assistants that hadn't worked out. And like that was what irked me, because Candace has said in the past that like, some things, need to be like dealt with privately, and she'll say that about this particular instance. But it's like, you're trying to hire a personal assistant. I think she had an experience where this one personal assistant like had a bit of an ego on them, and like asked, for too much money, I guess, and like, or like right off the bat, like a giant raise, like right off the bat, or something like that. And Candace like went on this whole rant about how like this is your first like official job, like you realize this is an amount of money that a lot of people have to work up to, like type of thing. At your age, like the amount that you're getting should be good. And I don't know the amount of money. I would not be shocked if somebody in these younger generations asked for a ridiculous amount of money. It's just the fact that Candace Owens was talking about this on her show and like complaining about it in front of all of her viewers for the world to see, and like kind of putting down these few young people who had like done trial runs as her personal assistant. I don't know. It was just icky to me, I guess. It kind of put me off. But I know it doesn't do that to everybody, because there's still a lot of people who love Candace Owens, which is like totally fine. I don't have a problem with with her. It's just not really for me. But I'm going to take her side on this issue. And for reference, okay, my personal opinion of Ben Shapiro is not that great, and is honestly worse. I dislike Ben Shapiro more than I dislike Candace Owens, in the way that I actually do dislike Ben Shapiro, for specifically what he was saying during COVID. Because when the COVID-19 vaccine came out, okay, I was still watching Ben Shapiro like all the time. Like him and like Michael Knowles had not surpassed Ben yet, I don't think. Like I was still watching a lot of Ben Shapiro. And then he started calling people like me, who were not going to take that vaccine, idiotic and stupid and all this stuff. And he was like, saying that it was such a good thing. And like, and then eventually, shocker, he realized that he was the stupid one, for saying that we need to trust this vaccine and that this vaccine is a good thing. And he realized he was wrong for calling other people idiots. At least I hope he did, because he did kind of a 180 on it. 180, right? Yeah. I get my 180 and my 360 mixed up. I'm sorry. But yeah. So I don't really care for people who called me idiotic or stupid or selfish or a murderer during that time frame of life. Um, yes, there can be, people's views shift and people learn things and come around. I understand that. It's just, when you speak with a certain level of authority on something, when you know that people are listening to you as if you have that authority, and then you're saying something so surely and definitely, and then you're wrong, it and and you called people idiotic for not doing what you said they should do. It's just kind of questionable. It's just kind of questionable. Anyways, that's enough of that. Let's get into what happened earlier this month. So we have November 14th, okay? Candace Owens tweeted out, I know it's X, okay? I know it's called X, but I literally can't get behind it at all. Okay, so Candace Owens tweeted out a Bible verse. She said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." Now, I'm not on Twitter. I don't really use it. I mean, I use it for like stuff like this, for like catching up on what's going on and like for writing articles and stuff, but I don't really like use it where I'm on it all the time. I get on Twitter maybe once a week. So, yeah. I didn't know any of this was going on until I think I was watching somebody else's podcast or something and they brought it up. I don't remember which one. Like I randomly heard about it and I was like, what drama? Because they didn't really expand on it, whatever I was listening to, and I was like, okay. And then I watched Lauren Chin's video on it yesterday. It's really the only video that I've watched on it. Just so y'all are aware. But because I try to like kind of um come up with my own opinions before I consume other people's, but it just I needed the timeline on this stuff since I wasn't keeping up with it in real time. Anyways, Candace Owens tweeted out this Bible verse or Bible verses, either way, and Lauren Chin was like, I saw Candace Owens tweet this out, and I was like, okay, and retweeted it. I didn't think it had anything to do with Israel versus Palestine or Ben Shapiro or the Daily Wire or anything like that. I just thought it meant that she was going to stick to her views no matter what, and wasn't going to take people's money to falsify her views. And I was like, yeah, that would make sense. If you have no context and somebody like tweets out a Bible passage, then yeah. Um, uh, think it's natural to not infer exactly what is meant by it, I guess. I don't even know like if Candace was even tweeting that out for any specific reason other than what Lauren Chin, guessed. But either way, Ben Shapiro, I guess, took this personally. Now, the reason he took this personally is because Ben Shapiro is, as many of you will probably know, Jewish, and he's a practicing Jew. He, I think, has family in Israel right now, so he's very, very attached to the Israel side of this conflict. Candace, on the other hand, she's not anti-Israel, okay? And she's not pro-Hamas, to get that out there, guys. She's simply taken, I would say, the same kind of approach as Charlie Kirk did, which he got ridiculed for. And I think Tucker Carlson has kind of taken the same viewpoint of like, yes, Israel is important. People in Israel are important. The people in Palestine are also important. Like there's a lot of innocent people, there's a lot of Christians, there's a lot of people who are involved in this conflict by proxy, okay? And are being harmed because it is a conflict. It's a war, all right? Bad things happen in war. And the question of whether or not America or the United States of America should be like putting direct support behind one or the other, that's debatable. But I think people like Candace are kind of just like, why are we all of a sudden Israel first on the right? Can we not still be America first and look at this like we did with Ukraine and look at this like we do with other countries? Why, just because it's Israel, Do we all of a sudden feel totally fine with sending a bunch of money and sending our troops and sending this and sending that? And like that's kind of one of the questions that she was asking, and then she had a I think what is he? A pro-Palestine Jew. She had this guy on her show to kind of discuss opposing viewpoints, etc. Ben, I guess, was not too happy about that. Pretty much, Ben just does not like Candace's approach to this discussion at all. He is very much, you need to be pro-Israel and only pro-Israel, and you don't need to think about it. No thinking. No thinking aloud, okay? So Ben retweets, or quote tweets. I don't even know the Twitter lingo. But Ben quote tweets Candace's tweet and says, Candace, if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means, quit. And I don't know about you guys, but that seems like a little bit of an overreaction. Just a little bit, to publicly tell somebody in a to publicly tweet to your colleague who a lot of people think is your employee, okay, if you don't like, the fact that you should be pro-Israel, then quit. If you feel like this is coming between you and God, then quit. Like that's just, I mean, did he not read his tweet before he posted it and go, maybe I shouldn't air out dirty laundry on Twitter? Seeing as that I am in the position that I am, maybe I shouldn't do this. But no, like, and then when he posted it, did he not go a few minutes later, maybe? Should I have posted that? Maybe go read it again and go, maybe not. And then, like, take it down or, like, edit it or clarify or something. No, I guess not. I guess Ben is a very confident person, which is a good thing in a lot of aspects, but when you have a little bit too much confidence in some areas, it makes you look special. Anyways, Candace responds to Ben and she says, you have been acting unprofessional and emotionally unhinged for weeks now, and we have all had to sit back and allow it and have tried to exercise exceeding understanding for your raw emotion. But you cross a certain line when you come for scripture and read yourself into it. I will not tolerate it. Don't get me wrong, it probably would have been better for Candace to just not respond publicly to Ben. But at the same time, I totally get it because sometimes you just can't help it, and also it is public. If she had left it at that, I don't know what people's opinions would be, so whatever. Anyways, that is that. But the main meat of this situation, guys, is actually a video that went viral pretty much the same 2 days that these tweets were being posted, okay, of Ben Shapiro at some sort of private event, standing on a table with a microphone, saying some stuff about Candace Owens to this group of people. So I'll go ahead and play that video for you guys right now.
The question is about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt. I can't pause that. Yeah, I mean, she still works for my company. And I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
He said, I think her behavior is disgraceful. He said during this, her behavior has been disgraceful. Obviously talking about during the Israel versus Palestine conflict, okay? I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful without a doubt. I mean, she still works for my company. I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. 2 disgracefuls in there, you guys. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. Everyone can see the moves that she's making, the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable. Okay, so we have 2 disgracefuls in there, a ridiculous and a disreputable. Some some nice stuff to say about your colleague, just because they don't like 100% agree with you on something. Um, like I know that Ben has personal connection to this. I understand that emotions can run very high, especially during something as big of a deal as this. However, is this all it takes for you to like completely throw like your behavior standards out the window? I don't know. That's just my question. I don't know. It's weird to me because it's not like he's not having a conversation in private. Like, honestly, I would understand even like if he's at this private event and somebody came up to him like privately and it was just a one-on-one conversation and they were like, "Hey, like what do you think about Candace Owens and what she said about this?" And then he said something like that to this one person privately. But like, and people have been like, "Oh, well, it looks like Ben didn't know he was being filmed," which he probably didn't. But he is standing on a table with a microphone in front of a group of people. Even if it is a private event, wouldn't you think that like somebody might film you? You are Ben Shapiro after all. Like, I don't know. It's just like it's crazy to me. But anyways, so Candace went on the Tucker Carlson show. Um, I think like I don't know, but like literally the episode aired like the next day or something like that. I don't know. It really there was like barely any time passage. Anyways, um, and when asked about this video of Ben, Candace was like, "There isn't much of a background. I saw the video when everybody else saw it. When I woke up, nobody warned me about it. It looks like maybe he didn't know he was being recorded. It looks like it was some sort of a private event. I got no clarity on the issue that he was particularly speaking on and what was said." Which is crazy to me because I'm like, you would think that, like, from a personal perspective, okay, say that I found myself in Ben Shapiro's shoes, okay? Um, as soon as I saw that video of myself, I feel like the first thing that I would do, or one of the first things that I would do, is reach out to the person that I was talking bad about in that video. Because, like, that's one of your colleagues. That is somebody that a lot of your viewers also view, like, so it's just kind of crazy to me that, like, supposedly, according to Candace, Ben didn't even reach out and, like, try to explain or clarify or anything. He didn't even send a text saying, "I meant it," like, it's just kind of like, I don't know, it just doesn't make much sense to me because I feel like the first thing that I would do is try to like smooth things over with the other person and explain what the context was and just be like, "I'm really sorry, I slipped. I was feeling super like I was feeling really frustrated with our disagreement. I really do think you're wrong on this, but I shouldn't have said what I said. I'm sorry it went viral on the internet. Didn't mean to cause any of this drama," type of thing. Does that like am I wrong here? Like to you guys listening, like isn't that what you would do? Is like try to like fix things privately as quickly as possible, not leave the other person in the dark when you're the one who said the crappy stuff behind their back, pretty much. But yeah, so Candace goes on to say that she can't respond to it on a level of intellect because there's nothing that he has expressed, at least in that short clip, that he fundamentally disagrees with in terms of what she said. She says, "If that was me that was caught on a video saying that about colleagues that I work with, I would be embarrassed. So I think that the video speaks more to Ben's character than it speaks to mine. I would never in a private event stand on a table and talk badly about Ben." Also, what I thought was an interesting note of clarity when Candace went on the Tucker Carlson show was she was like, "A lot of people get this wrong, but Ben is not the CEO of the Daily Wire, so he's not the one making the day-to-day decisions." And I think that was something that she needed to clear up because a lot of people, when they saw Ben say, "Well, then quit," immediately jumped to, "Oh, Candace is getting fired." But it's like Ben can't just fire her, which makes perfect sense because it's like, when you start out a business, maybe you're like the main person making the decisions, but when you build that business up to the heights that the Daily Wire has reached in the last almost 10 years, I guess, something like that. 2015, so 8 years. But I mean, they built it out pretty big. So it does make sense for there to be multiple other people running the day to day, and for Ben to have kind of like have like a different position where he can kind of be down in Florida and live in Florida with his family and not be up at the Nashville headquarters running the day-to-day stuff and not, be involved in every single decision. Like, it makes perfect sense. So and then I don't know what the rules of business are because I didn't go to business school. I know for nonprofits, you kind of have to have a board of like a certain amount of people. Um, I don't know how that works for business, but I would assume in a lot of businesses that they kind of come up with like a board of people, not necessarily because they have to. I don't know if they have to, but I would assume they kind of come up with a board of people to kind of help in the delegation process of making decisions to make sure that like one person isn't like running them into the ground. I don't know. Not that Ben Shapiro would like run them into the ground. I'm not saying that. I'm sure he would do fine. I mean, he literally co-founded the company, so, but yeah, whatever. Anyways, some people on the right are pretty much saying stuff like this one person that I saw a comment. They said, "So sad to lose an attractive, articulate young black woman to the fog of modern Marxism." Which is just ridiculous to me. Because Candace Owens is not a Marxist. I don't understand that comment at all. But a lot of people are like, it's so sad. It's so sad to lose her. And it's like, you didn't lose her. She just has a different opinion on one thing. Like, what? 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 It makes no sense to me. People are so weird to me. I don't get it. Anyways, and then you have people on the left saying stuff like this. Candace Owens was once a liberal, like 97% of black women. For reasons unclear, she switched sides. Now she's seen that conservatives are disingenuous at best. On that note, I'm pretty sure it's clear if you listen to a lot of Candace Owens like earlier stuff why she switched sides, but whatever. I digress. Then this person goes on to say that Candace Owens is being canceled by the right for not towing the pro-Israel line. She's getting a rude awakening that conservatives are as censorious as the left. All their free speech shtick was BS, a cudgel to wield against their ideological enemies, pretty much inferring that Candace should now see exactly what is wrong with the right and that she was stupid for leaving the left. When in Candace's discussion, like both on Twitter and on the Tucker Carlson show and possibly on her show as well, she's literally like compared this Israel versus Palestine conflict debate, okay, to the same type of energy that BLM's antics surrounding George Floyd gave off. And I don't think she's wrong in comparing those two because I mean, just look at how people on the right reacted to Charlie Kirk questioning if we should just back Israel without asking any questions. People all of a sudden were like, "You're an anti-Semite." And it's like, he asked a question. He asked a few questions. I thought we were supposed to ask questions. Don't worry, guys. You're always allowed to ask questions on this little corner of the internet. But yeah, whatever. So let's, now that we've got that out of the way, you guys can form your opinions on that. I'm not gonna get into the whole like actual debate of Israel versus Palestine and all this stuff. I honestly think it's crazy that so many people here in the United States have such a emotionally heated opinion. Like, if people have family over in one of those like countries, I understand. Like, you have family ties, you have emotional ties. If you used to live there, if you were born there, I get it. Okay? But the vast majority of people here in the US, the ones who are showing up to the pro-Palestine rallies, the ones who are, commenting how it's so sad to lose Candace Owens, like stuff like this, okay? The audacity. The audacity of you to have such a strong opinion on a conflict that does not even involve us. It does not even involve you. I mean, I understand if you're Jewish. I understand if you have ties. Okay, but a lot of people don't. And a lot of people who don't have those ties have like formulated this like emotional aggression and picked a side, and now it's another divisive thing when it's like, no, can we all just agree that that war is not a good thing and it sucks that people are getting killed, but like it's none of our business? I don't know. It's literally none of, and what's crazy to me is like a lot of people who have an opinion on this and on what these countries should do, what Israel should do, what Palestine should do, what should be done with Hamas, you know, what approach these countries should take to war. Um, where are you formulating that opinion? I just think it's crazy. I'm like, if I was in if I was in leadership in either of those countries right now, and I like, you know, heard what a lot of people are saying or saw what a lot of people here in the US are saying about this conflict and saying like, "Oh, Israel should do this, blah 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 blah." I would be like, "Are these people okay?" They don't I'm like, "Okay, because a lot of people in the US have not experienced war. And those that have experienced war, it wasn't really on our soil. Not in the way that like these Middle Eastern countries are dealing with." So I just think it's insane to have such a strong emotional opinion when you're not the one who should be having such a strong emotional opinion. Because you really, I'm like, I'm just sitting here, I'm like, you know, our media doesn't even really tell us everything that we need to know about what's going on in this country. Why do we think that we know everything about what's going on with the conflict of two Middle Eastern countries on the other side of the world? I don't know. Maybe we do. But I feel like there's a pretty good chance that we don't know the whole story, that we don't know everything that's going on, that we don't know all the decisions that are being made and all the people that have been hurt. Even though we think we might think we do, we probably don't. And so to come to some sort of conclusion about another country that like is not even like, uh, okay, I'm getting a little worked up. But I just think it's insane. And before some of you guys go running off to the comment section or running off to unsubscribe or whatever it is, because you think that I'm uneducated on this and I just need to learn more about the situation and I'll be pro-Israel, or I just need to do that and I'll be pro-Palestine, whatever it is. I really have no interest in picking a side. You know why? Because this does not impact my daily life except for my country's decisions on whether or not to send troops or to fund Israel or whatever other country. I'm like, this is the same thing with like when another country is warring with a different country. Like, you know, it has nothing to do with me except for what my country, what my government decides to do in relation to that. I'm not saying that I don't care about the lives that are being lost, that I don't care about the children that have been murdered. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that I don't understand why people can't have different views on this. Like, come on, guys. Come on. Like, I just try to see it my way just a little bit, just a little bit. Like, I have no interest in picking a side. You do, that's fine. But like with Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, it's like why he's taking issue with the fact that she doesn't want to pick a side without like questioning and debating and like why is that not acceptable? I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, getting into the little bit of fallout, external fallout that I mentioned earlier, I came across this article that was published on Monday of this week. And it was just an article disowning Candace, pretty much. I'll link it in the description below. Even though I'm going to read a good bit of it, I'm not going to read the whole thing. So if you want to read the full article, that's where you can find it. I believe this article was simply a statement from the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Horowitz. I think that's how you say it. Horowitz. Anyways, and it goes, 6 years ago, the David Horowitz Freedom Center invited the then little-known Candace Owens to its annual Restoration Weekend gathering of conservative movers and shakers. "This really is the conference where everything started for me," Candace later said. "I started my political career on YouTube, making just funny, satirical videos, and I got an email from David Horowitz inviting me to this conference, and let me just tell you what a big deal it was for me. I had no connections whatsoever." At this conference, she met Charlie Kirk and connected with his nationwide student organization Turning Point USA and became a national figure. The David Horowitz Freedom Center went on promoting Candace, honored her with an Annie Taylor Award for Courage in 2018, and hosted her at multiple events. That's why we are so disappointed in what she has become. Back then, she laid out an ambitious plan to move the black vote 20 points by 2020. It's not clear what happened to that. Instead of liberating the black community, Candace began giving platforms to anti-Israel voices like Andrew Tate, a Muslim convert who said that ISIS are the real Muslims because ISIS do exactly what the book says. And I don't know what the problem with that statement is. I mean, I don't know if Andrew Tate is really wrong in that. I mean, but whatever. Okay, what religion would be a religion without some blood on its hands? You know, that's kind of the way I look at it. But this is crazy to me. They're upset that she hosted Andrew Tate. Um, the article goes on to say, the David Horowitz Freedom Center has previously criticized Candace's promotion of Tate, but because of our history with Candace and our hope that she would pull out of this spiral, we did not make an issue of it. The atrocities of October 7th, the appearance of ignorant mobs in the US chanting Hitler was right and supporting the Hamas terrorists, and Candace's moral equivalence about these neo-Nazis have changed the stakes. We have decided to issue the present statement because of her recent promotion of Hamas's genocidal lies. Now, if what they mean by Candace's promotion of Hamas's genocidal lies is that she's just kind of like looking back at history and just kind of noting where Israel may have been wrong on a few things, and et cetera, et cetera. Just because she's like pointing some things out and asking some questions, she's pro-Hamas and pro-Hamas's genocidal lies. Calm down. I think we have another person, whoever wrote this statement, I think we have another person who's extremely emotionally involved, and I get it. But come on now. Okay. Goes on to say, instead of focusing on the meaningful activism and defense of American values that brought her to our attention, Candace Owens has become obsessed with her own fame, stirring up drama to compensate for a lack of real achievement. Her comments about Israel and her promotion of people like Andrew Tate are part of a pattern. Candace tackles a subject she knows nothing about, never bothers to learn anything about it, and then rides the backlash by playing the victim to generate more fame and money. What a tragic misuse of talents. Like, this this is crazy to me. Like, to like get on and write a statement to publicly disown someone and just really just hit the nail with the hammer like 500 million times. I don't even know the right analogy to use for this. It's kind of insane. Like, I feel like this is something that you write and then you go, oh, that was a little intense. And then you scrap it, and then you write again once you got all your negative emotion out. That's how I feel, but that's just me. Anyways, as far as the whole obsessed with her own fame, stirring up drama to compensate for a lack of real achievement, etc., etc., I feel like that is a line that could be used to criticize most of the people at the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro himself. I feel like it has been used to criticize all of them at some point or another. Like, I feel like that's just something that anybody in the public spotlight with enough followers can be criticized of. I'm not going to say that it's entirely like that there's nothing to it as far as like stirring up drama to compensate. I don't know about stirring up drama to compensate for a lack of real achievement. I think Candace Owens is where she's at because she's smart and because, I'm sorry. The David Horowitz Freedom Center gave her connections. Okay, I understand connections are important, But what somebody does with those connections, that's them. Candace Owens could have shown up and you could have, offered her all these connections at this event, and she could have done absolutely nothing with it. You know what she did? She made a whole political career for herself. She's doing very well. I don't even watch her on a regular basis. I don't even really care for a lot of what she has to say. But come on. It's like, I just feel like they could have spent this whole statement focusing on where they had problems with her beliefs, where they had problems with things she actually said, versus making all these claims about her that are like very emotionally heated. Does that make sense? It's like the people who leave comments on people's stuff online and they're like they're obviously commenting because they disagree with what you said, but they go, "You're just doing this for views." Or, you know, is it just me? Or is her eyelash off? Like, does it look weird to everybody else? Like, like they say stupid crap like that. Or like, when Michael Knowles was in a bit of a scandal earlier this year, like this one, he wasn't even political commentator. This one guy that I watch on YouTube was making fun of Michael Knowles' mouth instead of focusing on what Michael Knowles said. So like that's just kind of like what this feels like to me. That's what this article feels like to me. Anyways, it goes on. It says, in 2018, Candace tweeted that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was clueless. She's programmed to hate Israel and she has no idea why. Now she has become AOC. That is a crazy claim. To say that Candace Owens has become AOC. Really? Candace hates Israel for the same reason that AOC does. Fame. Candace doesn't hate Israel. Everything that I've seen her talk about, she does not hate Israel. She's not saying she hates Israel. She's not saying she's pro-Hamas. She's just questioning, like, just direct support. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. The David Horowitz Freedom Center wishes to express its deep disappointment with Candace's ignorant, hateful, and morally obtuse remarks about Israel and the Jews. We are in a civilizational war, and Candace is either on the sidelines or actively supporting the crusade against the West. I think considering her whole thing has been maybe we should be America first, she's not supporting a crusade against the West. And what's wrong with being on the sidelines? What is everybody's issue with people being on the sidelines in this? Why do people have to pick a side? Why? Answer me that. Okay, it goes on. We at the Freedom Center remain committed to finding and supporting the activists who will do the work rather than chase the clicks, who will stand up for freedom and the sanctity of human life, who will refuse to compromise with evil and retreat into a delusional isolationism. I got that, you guys. That says if the evil doesn't affect me immediately, I don't really care about its victims or the future that it intends. I also think that Candace has made very clear that she cares about the sanctity of human life, even in discussion about this conflict. So, what these people are talking about, I don't know. But the article concludes by saying, "Goodbye, Candace. We will continue to support those who truly strive to raise up the movement for liberty and life, not selfishly tear it apart." The way that I would be not only fuming, but probably in tears if this was written about me, like, oh my gosh. Like, what even? Candace, if you're out there, these people are stupid. Okay, because I'm just like again, it's like if you wanted to write something clarifying that even though you've supported Candace in the past, you don't agree with her on this one, this is what she said, this is how you disagree, this is why you disagree, that's like normal and not attacking somebody, but like to like this is literally a hit piece if you ask me. It's like you're literally just like dissing Candace Owens for an entire like statement, article, whatever the heck you want to call it. And to me, this is kind of like, okay, there was like a whole thing like Selena Gomez, okay, previous Disney starlet, singer, etc., celebrity, okay. Selena Gomez like deleted her Instagram or something recently because she was getting so much flack for not taking a stance, not picking a side in the Israel versus Palestine conflict. What she said something about how, she didn't like, like that she thought it was terrible, that she thought war was terrible, that her heart ached for like all the people involved. Like she said something along those lines. Like it was better worded for sure. But people were angry with her for simply saying my heart goes out to everybody involved in this, everybody that's being harmed by this. And I feel like that's kind of what people are upset with Candace for. What Ben is upset with Candace for. What this David Horowitz Freedom Center is upset with Candace for. Is for not picking a side. And saying, hey, I think that these people over here matter too. And maybe before we send a bunch of money over to Israel, we should like ask them a few questions, maybe consider all sides of the argument, maybe remember that we have a country with problems that we might want to fix before we try to fix other people's. Like, I don't know. My conclusion is that as much as I don't vibe with Candace, she's in the right here. And I think it's insane that people are this up in arms over something like this. It is okay for people to disagree with you. It really is. Sometimes you might think they're stupid. Sometimes you might think they're uneducated. Sometimes you might think all sorts of things when somebody disagrees with you. But it's still okay for them to disagree with you without you, like, publicly disowning them. Or publicly telling them that, maybe if they feel this way, they should quit. That's just, like, I just, it's crazy to me. It's crazy. It's a little too much. It's a little too much for something, especially something that is not directly involving our country, that is not directly involving you. Like, to expect somebody who is not directly involved in this conflict to pick a side is crazy to me. Like, it's already, like, crazy enough asking a kid to pick a side in a divorce. Okay? And they're involved in it. Okay, but it would be extremely weird if you demanded that the neighbor down the street pick a side in the divorce. When it's literally, they're not involved in it at all. Okay? Maybe they've heard what one party has to say, they've heard what the other party has to say. Maybe they feel like more inclined to side with one versus the other. Maybe they heard what the kid had to say. Maybe the kid showed the neighbor a few videos of some arguments. Or whatever. I don't know. Okay, I don't even know if this analogy makes sense. Okay, but I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to demand that somebody pick a side on something. It's so weird to me. We don't demand that people pick a side to be on politically, unless they want to vote. Then we kind of are stuck in this two-party system for now. I don't know, that might change in the next election. You've got Kennedy over there, taking big risks, but yeah. I won't keep rambling, because that's pretty much all I can do from that's all I would be doing if I kept going, so whatever. If you have any thoughts on this, go ahead and go to the comments, but please keep it civil. Allow other people to have their own opinions. Allow people to not have an opinion. It's okay. It really is. It really is, guys. Anyways, that's all for today's episode of Subtle Rampage Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your listenership. I appreciate your viewership. I appreciate it all. You guys are the best. My free thinkers are the best. But yeah, see you next week. Bye.